Senator Elizabeth Warren made news this week when a father in Iowa confronted her over her proposed plan to relieve the college student loan debt for those suffering from it today. I'm going to talk about that in this video. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and the title of this video is Elizabeth Warren, Student Loan Debt Relief and Education Planning. Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. So as I announced at the beginning of this year, this channel now will focus on education, some money-related topics, some career-related topics, and oftentimes current events and what's happening in the news cycle. This is an election year, so there's going to be a lot of discussion about what's happening there in terms of policies being proposed and what those mean and the particular candidate's previous track record. So something came up this week that I thought that was worth me discussing, as my blog and my YouTube channel have education focuses. So one of the things that Senator Elizabeth Warren has been proposing on the campaign trail is to relieve the student loan debt of those carrying massive amounts of student loan debt. And there are people suffering from that, and it's probably she probably sees it as a way to get a lot of voters should she win the Democratic nomination. But I found out about what happened in Iowa from Anthony Brian Logan. So I want to shout out Anthony Brian Logan for his video, which I will leave in the description box below if you want to check that out. But a father basically approached Senator Warren and said, hey, I saved for my daughter's college tuition. I worked. I did everything that I needed to do to save for that. Are you going to refund our money? And it's not fair that you're going to wipe away all the debt for the people who didn't save, but those who did save, you're not going to do anything for us. So there's a couple of things there. On the one hand, I feel like you should just worry about your own house and not worry about what someone else is getting and not worry about someone else's potential blessings. But on the other hand, there is something there. So let's talk about that policy. Let's talk about that proposed idea. First of all, for the entire U.S. population, does that make sense? And first of all, I know this topic is probably going to anger some people. It's probably going to tweak some people and make some people very uncomfortable, but please leave any comments you have in the comment section below. But it's worth discussing because if this woman gets elected, this will likely impact the entire country. So does it make sense to relieve the student loan debt for all these people? And is this the solution to the problem? It seems to me that we need to figure out how to cap or how to somehow stop the costs of college going as high as they've gone. So at some point the costs started going up, and I think that, I don't know, maybe we need a way to kind of cap that and maybe allow the schools and the education system to correct, which may involve some parts of the system going away. I mean, education is a business, higher education is a business, and maybe just like we need to do with the government, we need to figure out how to trim off some pieces of these universities, because it's just too much. To pay off all of everyone's loans, or the people Elizabeth Warren is proposing to pay off, that's a form of socialism, just like the medical system they have in Canada. And so if you go back to my video, just before the new year, I recorded a video entitled "What Matters to Me as a Voter." And in that video, I discussed how I want a candidate who's going to keep my taxes reasonable. So I know that we all need to pay some tax. We need to fund the government reasonably. We have to pay for the military. We have to, we have to maintain and build our different infrastructures, whether it's some form of technology, or whether it's our the actual bridges and roads that we use every day. So some tax is necessary, but again, there comes a point where it's too much. And so over the Christmas holiday, I had dinner with a friend of mine up in Toronto, Canada, and we were talking about our countries, and we talked about our healthcare systems. And one of the things she told me was that Canada's healthcare system, in their healthcare system, the patients can go, they might have to wait, but once they go, there's no cap on the treatments they can get. So they can get whatever they want and how much of whatever they want, which sounds good, but if you're writing a blank check, then someone has to pay for that. So drawing a parallel to this education thing, you don't want to write a blank check for someone's college education. There should be a cap on what they're spending and a cap on what the taxpayers are being expected to pay for someone's education. That's just my opinion. You don't want costs that are just going to run away into infinity. So, another piece of this I've thought about at times is that we've seemed to start pushing everybody towards white collar careers, and we've forsaken blue collar careers, even though we need our blue collar people. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think that if someone has the aptitude to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a professor at a university, and that's what they really want to do, they should do that. Some people are better with their hands. Some people are builders. Some people, can make a lot of money and create fruitful careers in the blue collar trades. And there's nothing wrong with being a blue collar tradesman. In the description box below, I'm going to leave my Father's Day 2018 blog post. And in that blog post, I tell the story of how Dad really, really wanted me to be his lawyer and my brother to be his doctor. So Dad very much wanted white collar careers for us. The issue with that, number one, and there's nothing wrong with wanting your kids to have well-respected careers that are going to pay well, but one thing is, what's that kid's gift? Are they, do they have an aptitude for that? Do they have a desire to do that? And then what's going to be the cost of that, which is going to be the last part of this video. Consequently, for the blue collar tradesmen, they come out, most of them come out without all of this student loan debt, and they make a lot of money, and they're not paying this stuff back for 20, to 30 years. Just something to think about. College, okay, before I go on, so if a student is going to choose a white collar career in college, then the question comes up: are they choosing the right major? Because what you don't want to do, and where a lot of students have gotten caught, is they've gone to these universities and they borrowed a lot of money to pay for a degree that won't pay that loan back. So you've got a degree in something that's only making 30,000, but you've borrowed 200,000 or 400,000. That doesn't make any sense. So the front end needs to be thought out a little bit more, I think, for a lot of students and a lot of families. Higher education, is a business, and they're there. Colleges and universities aren't there just for the hell of it. They're there to make money. Everything on that university has to be paid for. The professors have to be paid. The chancellor, the president, the registrar, all of that has to be paid. Everyone who works in admissions, everyone has to be paid. All those new buildings that are being erected, all that has to be paid for. The transportation on the campus, if it's a big campus, all that has to be paid for. So it's a business, and they're not just there as a public service just for the hell of it. So with that in mind, with it being a business, families have to, or the best case scenario is that families think it out ahead of time, how much it's going to cost and how it's going to be paid for. A couple of years ago at the Congressional Black Caucus Legislative Conference, at the Congressional Black Caucus Annual Legislative Conference, I sat in on a little talk. I think it might have been at the Authors Pavilion, and there was a woman there named Georgette Miller Esquire. So she had a law background, but she was writing. She's passionate about money, so she wrote a book about money. She gave us a talk about money, and the book is called Living Debt Free. And this is a black woman, a very lovely West Indian black woman. And I'm going to read a small passage from her book because I think it provides insight into this discussion. This passage says, "Unfortunately, many people don't prepare for their children's education. So the children end up getting student loans if they want to attend college. Parents don't put away money each month because they'd rather buy new cars and other depreciating assets. They're well aware they're going to have a child and should know that 18 years later, that child will probably want and certainly could use some kind of higher education. Yet they don't save for this education, and they need to be called on it. Why? Because the only way we can pass down generational wealth or make generational investments is by ensuring that our children don't come out of school with a cement block of student loan debt around their neck." So once again, that was from Living Debt Free by Georgette Miller Esquire. So that that underlying theme of that passage and what Georgette was talking about, what underlie that was a little bit of long-term thought and planning and accountability. So she was saying, if you're going to have children, it's in your best interest and it's in that child's best interest that you plan this out ahead of time and think about ahead of time that you're going to have to fund the money for their education is going to have to come from somewhere. And that gets us into another question, which I'm not going to address in this video, but, you know, pregnancies. You know, how much planning should go into pregnancies, or should you just have babies whenever you feel like it? You know, should you just willy-nilly have babies and pop them out, boom, 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 and then worry about the rest later? Or is there a certain amount of planning that should go into those pregnancies and the lives of the children after you have them? That's a discussion that could probably take hours, days, and it would probably be a very polarizing discussion. But I'll just stop that there. So I was going to tell a story about my own education, but I think that I'm going to make a separate video just about that and talk about how I paid for college and the guidance my mother gave for my education. I want to talk about that in a separate video because I don't want to make this too long. But in summary, I think that the answer isn't Elizabeth Warren's proposal. And, you know, if we're going to take taxpayer dollars to do that, we also need to figure out how to get the costs of education under control. Otherwise, this is just gonna keep going and going until the whole thing collapses at some point, because something's going to give at some point. I also think that it's incumbent upon families to plan for their child's education early on. And, you know, if you're not thinking on that level of planning out those steps or those stages of your child's life, then, you know, I think some more care needs to be had in having children, period. Also, I think we should also extend the options and start communicating that blue-collar jobs are cool, and blue-collar jobs have advantages as well over white-collar jobs. So college isn't for everybody, and it should not be the silver bullet, and it should not be the only option that we present to young people. So I'm going to stop this video here. Please leave any comments you have in the in the comment section below, and let me know what you think. Please like the video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Always remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.